Alrighty, so this isn't necessarily going to be a review, might be a little bit, but this is more of my opinions on the Callisto protocol. And as someone who literally was watching the trailer once a day because they were so hyped, it's like, you know, this is definitely something I was excited to talk about. And so, first thing I'm going to say, and mind you, all this is my opinion, so, and also, it's a video game. Like, if you're mad at my opinion, you know, calm down. So, first thing, this game, and I know, Glenn Schofield, the guy, you know, who made Dead Space, made this game. That doesn't mean you have to make the game basically the exact same. This game, to me, I will say specifically, this game really felt like, to me, what Dead Space 3 was supposed to be. Between like, the setting, and, like, you know, yeah, you're on Callisto, and these, like, the snowy, industrial, you know, Ishimura kind of vibe. I just kept thinking, you know, this would have kind of made sense if it was like Dead Space 3. They're on a frozen planet. Isaac gets thrown in jail by EarthGov or whatever, and then unitologists attack or have a plan, and then you have to escape from a jail on Tau Volantis or something like that. But because there's, like, you know, an old colony and things, and you play Dead Space 3 and you play this, and it's like, this definitely feels like what they actually wanted to do. But on top of that, the entire game, basically, minus, you know, the dodge mechanic and not having suits, and I guess, you know, the ability to freeze enemies, the game is basically Dead Space. And I don't know why people are sitting here defending it, like, oh, well, what did you expect? It's like, well, you do realize that video game companies can make different games. They don't just repeatedly keep making the same game. I mean, some might, you know, Bethesda, they just basically keep making the same 2 games. But it's like, you know, yes, there's a dodge mechanic. Yes, you don't have different suits. There's less of an arsenal of weapons. The enemies are definitely tougher. But you look at everything. The lighting, the setting, how enemies act, the whole vents, how enemies use vents. And not that I'm saying Dead Space is, like, the only game, you know, that can have that. But you can tell that Glenn Schofield just wants to make another Dead Space. Like, that's really what he wants, and it's a shame what happened, because clearly it's like, you know, and having to call the Callisto protocol, because I mean, even the ending, when I got to the end, I was like, this is literally Dead Space. Like, the cliffhanger ending, I guess, I was like, bro. And it doesn't even really make sense. It's like kind of eye-rolling, like, you know, there's the whole, you can see your health bar on your back. This time it's horizontal, not vertical. Except instead of in Dead Space, the marker messing with your head, it's the core, which is the thing on your neck, messing with your head. So you start seeing illusions and hallucinations and stuff like that. But yeah, so there's just that part. But it is fun, like, and I don't know if you would call this survival horror or, like, action horror, action survival horror, because when I think of survival horror, I think more of, like, the slow-paced, like, much harder to fight back, like, you really need to be running away kind of game. Whereas in this game, it's, you know, it's a very face-to-face, brutal combat, which I guess I'll get into that next. The combat, you know, it's your standard third-person shooter. You can get, I think, a total of like 6 guns or 5. And it's weird because, well, 2 things. I'll talk about the range weapons and then the 1 melee weapon. The range weapons, you can basically get, they're like 3D printed guns. You have your standard hand cannon pistol, and then you can swap out like the front end to be the skunk gun, which is basically like a one-handed double barrel shotgun, which you can make a 4-barrel shotgun. Very nice gun. And then you can also get an assault rifle with a 3-round burst, which makes sense because, you know, it's, if you had a full auto, you'd be burning through ammo so fast, and I get what they're doing. And then you can get the like riot shotgun. You get that later as part of the story. Not a bad gun, but I weirdly felt like no matter how much I upgraded it, it just wasn't really doing anything. Like my hand cannon and all my other guns were doing much better. On my first playthrough, I didn't even use the skunk gun or really any. I just used the hand cannon and the shotgun and the assault rifle because it comes to a point where you're like, why am I wasting money on all these guns? But my second playthrough, I'm trying out the different guns. But yeah, there's also like a lesser damage pistol. They're all fine. They're all serviceable. You can upgrade them. You know, better damage, stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. They do have alt fire modes like Dead Space, but this time you have to actually unlock them, which is nice. But on the melee combat, you don't get to pick any other melee weapons. You get the stun baton. I mean, obviously, when you first start out, you get like a stick. But yeah, you get the stun baton, and you can, I honestly would say focus on the stun baton more than your guns. That thing, I mean, you're going to be doing melee combat more than anything. That thing will come so much in handy. I focused mainly on that, and man, it was saving me so much freaking trouble. But at first, yeah, it's miserable to use because enemies just take so many fucking hits to kill. You just keep hitting them and hitting them and hitting them. And, you know, hit, dodge, hit, dodge. It's like, oh my god, can you just fucking die, please? But, yeah, so not much there. And, you know, that's another thing, the melee animations, it's like the same, you know, 4 animations over and over again. So that kind of gets old. And you can do a light attack, a heavy attack, and that's about it. You can't really, I thought you could hold the heavy and charge it up more and more, but you just do a heavy attack. And there's the dodge mechanic. It's okay. You know, I almost wish you could dodge roll. I guess like that's Dark Souls, kind of. The dodge mechanic is interesting, but I feel like it's not programmed super well to fully grasp what it's supposed to do. So you click. I'm using a controller. I'm on PC, but I'm using a controller. You just click left on the left analog stick, or right to dodge, left or right, or down to block. And what's weird is like it's like the game, you know, is kind of auto locking passively on one enemy that you can dodge. But the problem with that is that they'll throw fucking one time I had 7 enemies on me. And I mean, obviously I died in a matter of, you know, maybe 15 seconds because you're trying to dodge one and it's focusing on one, but there's still enemies surrounding you and they'll hit you. And so it's kind of like, and you can't just, I thought you could just dodge by, you know, by clicking the button. No, you have to at least be like facing the enemy to actually do it. Because I was like, oh, he's behind me, I hear him. You know, I kept clicking the dodge button. Nope, nope, you have to be looking at him. And so I was like, that's kind of shitty. Like, that's weird. And the dodge mechanic is like, you know, to me it's both a pro and a con. It's pro because it almost makes it so easy. You know, in Dead Space there was no dodge mechanic or anything. In the third one you can roll, but in the first 2 it's really just like use your, you know, punch him. shoot him. You know, use kinesis, stasis, stuff like that. The downside in this game is that, you know, yeah, you're trying to dodge all these enemies, but you might not. But if you do dodge them, it becomes almost so stupidly easy where it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna keep clicking the fucking dodge button. There's no like, which I don't know how they would have done this, but there, I'm trying to think about a game like, you know what? I guess like Rise, Son of Rome, or any really game where like you're, you know, like you're dodging, but then if an enemy does a heavy attack, you can't like kind of dodge that. You can kind of like roll out of the way, just stuff like that. But yeah, that's the, you know, your core gameplay. There's the melee, dodge, ranged. The healing pisses me off beyond belief because, you know, in Dead Space, even if you were just getting the shit beaten out of you and you're trying to run away, you could like heal. You know, you just press, I think, B, and boom, you just heal. In this game, if you're in combat, you're not, I'd say 80% of the time, you're not healing. There's no fucking way you're healing. If enemies are actively looking for you and like you're in a duel, you can't just press a button and heal. No, your character has to go, okay, yeah, I'm in a life-threatening situation. Okay, well, here's what I'm gonna do. Let me slowly pull it out, sit down, stare at it. Oh yes, the thing I've been using the whole game. Slowly uses it. Okay, it's just absurd, you know. It's like, all right, like, sure, because that's what you would do. You know, at least just like pull it out and then just go done. And another thing I don't like is like, even if I am at like 80% health, it'll use the whole health injector. Like, you know, I thought it would use it based off how much I actually need, not use the whole fucking thing and then throw it away. Because then it just kind of wastes. Or, you know, if they would have like small med pack or anything. But yeah, the healing it's meh. And unlike Dead Space, whenever you grapple enemies with kinesis in this game, you actually have a battery charge that you have to refill. And here's some bullshit. The game tells you that if you have a battery in your inventory, it will auto recharge your grip, your GRP, which is the kinesis. Except it doesn't. And I looked it up, and other people are having this problem too. I mean, it's literally hindering the game where there's a part where you're on a platform, and you gotta kill off enemies and fight one of these hard enemies. And it gives you a bunch of batteries, so you can throw enemies off the platform. But since the game is broken and won't auto-charge the batteries, I have no time to sit there and open my fucking menu, use the battery. I mean, you know, every second counts. It's like, why is this so hard? I don't understand why this is so hard. Like, why is this game having such horrible problems on launch? You know, and that's another thing. I'm on PC, and even right now, even after the day one patch or whatever, it's still a stuttering mess. I know. Go back to DirectX 11, turn VSync off, turn motion blur off, all these things. It's like, why? Why was it released in this state? Like, was there no PC testing, nothing? Like, come on now. It's kind of just takes me out of the game completely when I'm watching a cutscene and stuff, and it just, boom, you know, it's stuttering like crazy. And at one point, until I restarted the game, the sweat on the character was fucked up, where it was just all the pixels. So I was like, what is going on? What is all? At first, when I saw it, I was like, oh, is this part of the cutscene? Like, he's infected or something? And I was like, oh no, that's like the actual just pixels showing up. But okay. So that was, you know, eye rolling. But yeah, the battery, you know, with the kinesis, like, that's a critical thing, and it's really annoying when the game function that the tutorial says does not work. So that's, you know, that was aggravating me. There's no new game plus mode until February, which I think is also really, really stupid. You know, like, and the first, I guess, story DLC doesn't come out till the summer. It's like, why couldn't you just give me new game plus now so I have some replayability before the DLC? You know, because February, I'm like, the end of January is the Dead Space remake. And I'll be playing that. You know, I'm going to definitely want to order the collector's edition of that. So, I'm just kind of confused on what's going on here. But yeah, when I tell myself that this game is just a Dead Space side story, it definitely made it feel much better for me. You know, you do get this cool suit in the game. Unfortunately, you don't get to upgrade your health or anything, or inventory. That's another thing that kind of sucks, is basically for the first, like, I'd say 65% of the game, you're not wearing armor, you're just wearing your jail outfit, and you have 6 inventory slots. It's not until you freaking get the armor that you get like 12 slots, which is, to me, like the end of the second half to the beginning of the third act, which aggravated me because I'm like, there's no, you know, there's no nothing. Like, even in Resident Evil 2 remake, they were like, hey, here's some hip pouches, you got 2 extra spaces, because it gets real hard in the beginning. Like, you know, I mean, you can do inventory management somewhat, but well, another weird thing that happens on top of that, and mind you, like I said, I'm just going off, I'm just talking about everything that's, you know, liked and bothered me, but it's a weird thing where, like, you know, you can drop things and quote-unquote pick them back up. So I would drop things, I'm like, okay, I'll come back in just a second to pick that up while I search this area. I would die, and then everything I dropped is gone. And I was like, okay, well, that sucks, because now I can't get any of that shit. And, you know, there's just this weird thing of, like, when you die, it'll restart you. It's just weird. I just kept losing stuff, you know, it was just aggravating me a lot. But, yeah, I'm trying to think. And I know it seems like I'm just talking non-stop shit on it, but it is a fun game, but I'm just kind of confused, you know? Like, I paid $60, and it's like, there's nothing. There's no new game plus mode, nothing at all, you know? And I think about Dead Space 2, you know, Dead Space. You beat the game, you unlock the cool military suit, play again. Dead Space 2, you play through again, you unlock the elite versions of the suits. Dead Space 3, I can't remember much more than just, it was nice to go back and craft new weapons. In this game, it's very, like, you don't make any choices, you don't unlock any suits, there's nothing, you know. I just was kind of shocked by that, like, wow. I thought, you know, when I beat the game, there'd at least be like, hey, you know, thank you for beating the game, you unlocked a, you know, a new suit, color, texture, something, I don't know, or, you know, you can now craft a new gun at the 3D printing station. Yeah, it's just, you know, and a part of the fault is me for getting so hyped, but it's just sad, you know. I was really looking forward to this game, and I still, you know, I'm not completely hating it. I'm replaying it again, and I'll probably try it on maximum security difficulty, but I don't know, you know, it's just meh, you know. It almost feels like this would have been better as like a PS4 game, like 3 years ago. So that's gonna be about it. I'm sorry that I've been just like negatively rambling for 20 minutes, but yeah, those are just my thoughts. And of course, if you disagree with me, just let me know. Like, you know, you don't have to get too mad. Just, we can have a conversation. All right, thanks for watching.
Your journey was especially long, all the way from Europa.
What'd you say?
But I'm afraid there's just too much at stake here. And the protocol cannot be broken. So, though your story ends